Toyota Material Handling is now providing a factory rebate of up to $2,500 when you trade in a Toyota or a competitive unit. Now, through September 30th, 2024, trade in your forklift and get a new industry-leading Toyota forklift. This rebate applies to electric and internal combustion models. Unlock your upgrade today by visiting toyotaforklift.com. That's toyotaforklift.com, or click the link in the show notes.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk coffee on today's episode. And I'm going to be joined by the CEO and founder of Road Dog Coffee, Spencer Squier. And they're focused on coffee with a mission, and their coffee is focused specifically at truckers and logistics professionals, which I think is pretty interesting. So we're going to talk all about that today, how that kind of came about, and where does this passion for those truck drivers and logistics professionals come from, and how is their coffee servicing this market? So Spencer, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to sharing the story and the vision.
Definitely. Happy to get you on. I think it's pretty interesting what you're doing and how this is focused at our industry, basically. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Road Dog Coffee? Tell us kind of the origin story. I mean, how did this come about? How did you come up with this whole idea?
Yeah. So my background is in transportation. I had a company called Allstate Express. Had that from 1996 until 2021. And 2020, when everything was shut down and we were all stuck in our houses. Every time, you're turning on the TV, you're hearing the same thing on the news channels. Our truckers are valuable. If it weren't for our trucking industry and our logistics folks, we wouldn't be able to get the products that we need, our essential goods. It was just kind of the same story, repeated on different channels, right? Trucker this, trucker that, our heroes, can't live without them. Once everything kind of opened back up, you really never heard about our trucking professionals anymore. Yeah. They were kind of like the forgotten man and woman. The bits and pieces here and there, but nothing as significant as what 2020 brought us. But so, with that said, I've always loved coffee. I've always had a passion for coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker, and I love trucking, and I love our truckers and our logistics professionals because they all go hand in hand.
Right.
So in 21, we got, sold the company. 22, started thinking about things a little more deeply, I guess. So in going into 23, I finally incorporated the name Road Dog Coffee Company in November of 2022. And the name comes from the saying that we've all heard, I've been running like a dog, right? You've heard that. And our truckers run, so it kind of fit. So in 23, officially launched it. It was a building year, a website, the coffee bags, the graphics, the designs. And we officially launched the website to start taking orders basically the first part of February of 24. So all of 23, like I said, was building, kind of making sure we get things right. But our truckers depend upon coffee a lot. Yeah. They drink a lot of coffee. Our logistics professionals drink a lot of coffee. In the office, I've been there, done that, seen it. Our logistics folks down to the distribution centers, getting shipments ready for our truckers to come and haul shipments, keep our economy going. So we've kind of coined the phrase, it's actually our word mark, highway heroes, because the men and women truckers are technically our highway heroes. They really are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of veteran truck drivers out there as well. So it kind of ties into that as well. They're heroes, for our country, and now they're heroes on the highway to our economy. So, I decided to go ahead and do something about it, trying to change the narrative and showcase the importance of our men and women truckers and what they mean to us day in and day out, what they mean to our economy, how vital they are, and without them, we are screwed. Because you won't be able to get anything. And 2020 kind of shows that. It was creating all this chaotic panic at stores because inventories were so low. Nobody was working. A lot of warehouses were shuttered. There was no product being made. So I wanted to do something about it. So I decided to launch a coffee company around that because, again, it all goes hand in hand. Truckers and coffee. And so we have a kind of a two-pronged business model. We've got the educational and awareness side of things, and we have the accessibility side of things. So awareness, education, that's for the general public to bring awareness of what our truckers mean to the economy, what our logistics folks mean to the economy, how vital they are. And then the awareness, that's part of the story of what you'll see on like the bags and our ads and our social media presence. So on the back of the bags, we've put some information on the back of the bags. On the bags, the front of the bags, like we've got Long Haul, Expedite, Black Dog as our first 3 brands that we've launched, and we've got more coming in the pipeline. Black Dog was kind of a unique product. It's an old urban legend within trucking. So it kind of made sense to launch that. High caffeine, designed to scare the sleep out of you. So if a lot of your listeners don't know what Black Dog is, go look it up. It's pretty interesting. There was actually a movie made around it with Patrick Swayze.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So the other side of it is the accessibility to allow our truckers and logistic professionals, when they're out on the road traveling, to access great premium coffee. Our truckers cannot get premium coffee in truck stops. They can't. I mean, it just exists. So now we've allowed them the ability to have that, and it showcases the actual industry in which they serve and live.
Interesting. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's such an interesting story, right? Because it's for truckers by truckers, essentially, right? You have the trucking company. And I think, it's really great to have that focus. And I think we'll take a second here and just say thank you to the truckers still, even, pre-pandemic, during pandemic, post-pandemic. I mean, like you said, nothing gets to where we need it to be as humans and citizens here. I mean, for us to consume or even utilize, critical things, things that we just want, comfort things, like without them, right? Without being able to move them. And certainly from my perspective, from logistics perspective, working in a warehouse and stuff like that, I mean, if that coffee machine was broken, that was a big deal in the warehouse. So I mean, certainly it makes total sense to be able to do this. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about how kind of, the coffee has been received by the trucking community, the logistics community. I mean, what's the reaction kind of been?
So far, so good. I mean, it's been perceived very well. Our long haul blend is a medium roast. It's designed to drink all day long, and kind of the inspiration behind that, the reason I want to do long haul is, one, it's a staple term in trucking. Everybody's heard of long haul, and long hauls will typically run all day, morning to night. Expedite, that typically, having a logistics background, you've been around it and exposed to it. Expedites typically run late in the afternoon. They consist of those moments. We forgot something. Now we've got to pay for an expedite, and that typically will run, in the evening and through night. So that was kind of the inspiration behind that bag is that's why we call it a dark roast, because night is dark is night, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Black Dog, which, I mentioned earlier. That's the old urban legend, high caffeine, and it's got a very smooth taste to it. It's not ashy. It's not burnt. but it's ultra dark roasted. So they've been perceived very well. Quite a few orders. We've got people reposting things on LinkedIn and social media outlets where they bought it. And like I said, reposting images. So, we're still relatively new, still trying to work out there. So it's everybody, all hands on deck. Tell all your friends and family about it and what we do, how we support our community, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great thing to be focusing on this community and, doing something like unique for them. And I think it's pretty interesting too, to hear you point out that, at the truck stops, like you're not really getting quality coffee there and being able to get that. And, it should be, for people that are, essentially running the supply chain, in a sense, you could say, making the supply chain move. I mean, we should be able to get them some quality coffee. So it's great that you guys are coming into play. And, hopefully some of these truck stops will get some Road Dog coffee in there at some point too, as well. But tell us a little bit.
We're working on it.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. So tell us a little bit too about some of these, because you have some other kind of initiatives and programs too, like for the trucking community that you're putting in place, aside from just providing coffee as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we've got, the main thing right now we've got going is bringing, the awareness of what trucking is through coffee. We've got a lot of things in the works, in the pipe. We've got what's called, it's not officially set up yet. We've got the RDCC fund coming, which will be a 501c3 where we will raise money to give back to the industry through other charities. I don't want to really name any because we've not identified a lot of those quite yet. We've got, we're in talks with some, but it's just nothing's official yet. But, and we've got other programs coming out that, are going to be exciting. So, I mean, we give back right now, like I said, through just bringing the awareness of the brand, what trucking means to the economy, how important our truckers are, our logistics professionals, and it's just right now we're trying to change the narrative and, like I said, just bring that awareness level that needs to be brought, because I just feel like our trucking community out there, just they have a voice, but they don't have a voice. And the voices that they do have are your professional organizations. So, your regular, household, that may not be in trucking. Well, they're not part of those organizations. So how are they supposed to know anything unless they turn on the news?
Yeah.
And there's like an event, like a pandemic or a natural disaster.
Yeah.
But, so this is our way to go and bring that message into the everyday household through coffee, because everybody loves coffee. And we're looking at wholesale channels right now and some grocery stores. So as we accelerate the brand, continuously grow the brand, it's just going to, it'll eventually take up a life of its own.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. And I think it's a great way to create awareness around it, because I think one thing too is, like you said, certain things happen and, fortunately, typically it's bad things happen. And then, we hear about truckers and how they're supporting in these times. But I'm curious, I mean, from that perspective, like, how do we start to get like younger people interested in the industry? Like, how do we start to like cultivate that next generation of truckers or logistics professionals?
Yeah. So, that's kind of a tough one because, the young generation, they don't really want to drive trucks because we all know it's not a sexy industry. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's you're fighting traffic. You're dealing with drivers that really don't know how to maneuver around a tractor trailer or straight truck. Those aren't like cars that can stop on dimes. So, with that, like I said, it's not a very glamorous industry. It's really not. It's so, how do we get the young generation to think it's cool and want to do it?
Yeah.
That's a challenge for the industry. And I don't know if anybody can really solve it. Everybody's got opinions on how it should be done, but it's just gonna take a lot to make that happen, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, finding creative ways like how you're doing with the coffee and stuff. I mean, it
Yeah.
certainly helps to create some of that awareness. And I think it's important too, like you mentioned, having it just awareness just in the household in general, right? I mean, is that,
Yeah.
an option, or is that something that's out there? And I think, being able to create that and embrace, that the industry and people within the industry too, I mean, I think would make a difference as well. So it's very interesting. I mean, what you've created here and brought to the table. I mean, literally brought to the table with some coffee, right? But I think it's great that you're focusing in on this specific community and this industry and giving them some recognition and also giving them something of quality to help, celebrate themselves and be within that. So as we kind of look towards the future of Road Dog Coffee and plans that you have, I mean, what types of things are you looking at? What can people expect from you in the future?
Yeah, so we want to make this thing fun and exciting. With each bag launch, we get really creative on what we do within trucking, but we've got a lot of good things coming in the pipeline in the very near future. A couple more bags that we're going to launch and release, and we've got some other exciting things coming. Again, I can't show my hand just yet, but yeah. So we'll eventually launch other products that are going to cater to even the young generation, like the cold brew in cans and so forth. So there's a lot we want to do and accomplish. I know we will. So like I said, we're still young. So we're still trying to advance and grow. But yeah, so a lot of good things coming.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to go in a lot of different directions. And I think, just getting creative with it, what you guys have done already. I mean, can only imagine how you're going to continue to evolve it and grow it. It's very exciting to see, and I'll certainly be keeping my eye on to see how you continue to do that.
Maybe we'll have coffee bubblegum one day.
Coffee bubblegum. Interesting idea here. You heard it from here first, right? So I'm curious. I mean, you've worked in trucking before. I mean, was there anything interesting about the coffee side of like the supply chain or something that you've learned on this journey and getting into the coffee business?
Yeah. So, that's an interesting industry.
Yeah.
It kind of operates kind of in a way, trucking does, unless you're a large conglomerate like a Starbucks or a Dunkin', you have a lot of access to direct farms where you can buy their lot. So you kind of have to go through coffee brokers. Yeah. Which a lot of people do that anyway, just because they've got the buying power and they've got the relationships with the farmers. So, once it getting into the space, you kind of develop relationships with these brokers, and you buy the specific beans that matches up to your blends of what you're trying to do and accomplish, what makes sense. And then that's where you get creative and come up with unique profiles and whatnot for the different tastes that you're trying to go for. But the logistics, within coffee, it's quite interesting. It really is. It really is, because, these farms that are supplying a lot of the coffee to the world, there are some big ones out there, but a lot of them are a lot of small, mom and pop farms that rely on these brokers to get their product to market. And then, then we just, we go in and buy what we want and brew and roast.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's coffee business is very interesting. I used to work for Keurig Green Mountain actually for a while. And I learned, I admittedly personally am not a coffee drinker. So it was very interesting for me to learn about this whole thing and how that all works. I mean, it's pretty crazy, all the different, climates and how that affects the beans and all those things in the flavor. So yeah, super interesting.
It's just like wine, like wine, even, the region, it's very unique, the coffee industry. And you're right, altitudes affect coffee cherry to heavy rains, heat. I mean, it's a really unique, and the soil, if you want to get your tastes, if you're going after a specific taste, you've got to go over here and get this for this specific taste. And over here for this. If you want more of a fruit-forward, fruity type, bill, I focus on this. But it's really unique. It's very, very interesting, and I'm still learning. It's very technical, very technical.
Yeah, absolutely. So very interesting stuff to learn about Road Dog Coffee here, and definitely appreciate what you're doing for the community and the industry, and trying to shine some more light on them, and, be able to create awareness and just in general around what's going on with that, and give them something, good to drink on the road too as well. So Spencer, I want to thank you for joining me here on the show today. If people are interested to learn more and they want to get some coffee from you, what's the best way to do that?
Go to roaddogcoffee.com, and we've got coffee, apparel under the gear tab, stickers, swag, all the good stuff. And, there's going to be more coming down the pipe. And also one interesting thing with our K-Cups, and we don't call them K-Cups because everything, like I said, is trucking centric with us. We call them rims because tires are on rims, and rims around and K-Cups around, right? So, and they're in 18 count boxes. How many wheels are on a tractor trailer?
18 wheeler. There you go.
Yeah. We try to make everything fun and creative, that really, really binds us to the industry that we serve. That's the most important thing is, our commitment to the industry. We love our truckers, our logistics folks, because without them, we're going to be in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. And I love the creativity as well. We'll definitely put the link so people can find your coffee at thenewwarehouse.com and also in the show notes. So Spencer, I want to thank you once again for your time today, and again for what you're doing for the truckers and logistics world out there.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.